Okay, great. Yeah, I'm excited to be sharing with you guys this morning. Murray gave me the opportunity a little while back. He asked if I wouldn't mind sharing. I think they're still in the Western Cape, enjoying some time there. So yeah, it's great to be with you guys this morning. If you don't know who I am, my name's Phil. And yeah, I've been at the church for, I think it's about 10 years now. So it's been, crazy, 10 years. Marissa was there from the start as well. But yeah, it's been a good journey and good to be sharing with you guys this morning. I hope you've had a good weekend. My side, we had our year-end function, and yesterday we were out at Adrenaline Addo. I don't know if you guys have been out there. Nice zip lining and swinging and all of that. So you can really feel the end of the year coming, you know. So yeah. But I'll be sharing with you guys on joy this morning and finding joy in the ordinary. And I also think, or choosing joy in the ordinary. I did a reading plan recently and I really learned a lot from it. So I'm excited to share some verses with you guys, and I hope you learn as much as I did. I didn't even know it was actually the joy was the candle we were lighting this morning. I didn't actually know that. So nice little link up there. But yeah, I'm going to just read a passage and then we can pray after that and get into it. But maybe you can go to the first slide. Marissa sent me a picture when she heard I was preparing for this talk, and it's Bill Johnson, and he says there, to live without joy is to live in opposition to your design. So I'd like to start like that, because if we realize that we were created to live in joy, it's a lot easier to choose joy, you know. And so, yeah, I'll start by reading Psalm 4, if you guys maybe want to turn there, and then we can pray and get started. So, Psalm 4. And this is a Psalm of David. It says, "Answer me when I call to you, O God, who declares me innocent. Free me from my troubles. Have mercy on me and hear my prayer. How long will you people ruin my reputation? How long will you make me groundless? How long will you make groundless accusations? How long will you continue your lies? You can be sure of this. The Lord's set apart the godly for himself. The Lord will answer when I call to him. Don't sin by letting anger control you. Think about it overnight and remain silent. Offer sacrifices in the right spirit and trust the Lord. Many people say, 'Who will show us better times?' Let your face shine upon us, Lord. You have given me greater joy than those who have abundant harvests of grain and new wine. In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, O Lord, will keep me safe." Let's just pray quick and then we can get going. Dear God, thank you for this time where we get together as a church. Thank you for this festive season. We can really feel the year coming to an end. Families traveling from afar. We might be traveling. Year-end functions are happening. It's just a different time of the year, and it's a time to be excited and just remember your birth, Lord. And so, I just pray this morning that your Spirit will come flow in this place, open up hearts. I pray that you'd really speak to us through your word, Lord. Thank you for the joy you bring, and just be with us this morning. Amen. Okay, so my first point there, if you can go to the next slide there, Maureen, thanks, is joy in the ordinary, and that's obviously the title of the talk. But let's just tackle some verses quick, and I've read over Psalm 4. So these are two that we've just taken out of it, and it says there, sorry to turn my back on you guys here. Many people say, "Who will show us better times? Let your face smile on us, Lord. You have given me greater joy than those who have abundant harvests of grain and new wine." So if you missed verse 6 and 7 the first time, there it is again. Just some points from that verse, or from these verses. So David's obviously writing, and apparently in this time, David was betrayed by his son. So I think, firstly, if you're betrayed, you often feel alone and hurt. And if you're in that for too long, it could lead to depression or whatever. But we see David chooses another option. Another thing I've written here is David was in hiding. And those against him were enjoying much. And he was in hiding, so he didn't have much. But he actually chooses joy. So if you see here in this verse, it says, "You have given me greater joy than those who have abundant harvests of grain." He doesn't have a lot. Other people have great harvests of grain and new wine. Yet David chooses joy. So maybe we can go to the next slide there. And I've just written some points down. And it says the first point there is living for the world will often equal momentary enjoyment. So enjoyment that doesn't really last that long, you know. So yeah, and it made me think of, I don't know if you guys remember the Reggie's Rush. If you guys remember that, Okay, before or after some of your time. So yeah, Reggie's Rush was basically, I'm sure a lot of you know what Reggie's is. It's a big toy shop. And basically what they used to do is these lucky winners would get like a minute or two in Reggie's to just fill a trolley. So, I mean, that just sounds like cloud nine to most kids. And it did to me when I was watching it. I thought, wow, that'll be great, you know. That'll bring a lifetime of joy. Reggie's Rush, here we go. But yeah, obviously, and I think a lot of the time as well, we as humans, we want what other people have, and we feel sorry for ourselves. So, I mean, even earlier this year, when Tim was still around, me and him were at the office. I think it was on a weekend or late, and we were working, and we thought to ourselves, "Yes, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing here, working and studying at the same time? Like, who does that?" We just and then we were just feeling sorry for ourselves. Why can't we just work, or why can't we just study? You know? And I think a lot of the time we look at our lives and we think, "Oh, everything's a bit harsh," you know. But at the same time, and we look at people and we want what they have, and we think, "Oh, if we had that, we would be happy." And that's obviously one of the 10 commandments: do not covet, you know. But the point I'm trying to get at is to find or to choose joy in the ordinary things. So basically, if you work, then in your emails, in your meetings, if you do cleaning, whatever you do on a daily basis, trying to find joy in that rather than looking at what other people have and wanting what they have all the time. So that's the first point there. The second point says, have the maturity to seek joy in ordinary and difficult times. Believe that God hears us and makes room for us. So yeah, I think that's a key point. And I think if you look at someone who you reckon is spiritually mature, then you look at them and you think, or let's put it this way, if someone is often in a difficult time, but you see yet they're always happy. An example of this, I used to go to a guitar teacher, and he actually knew Oki. I'm sure a lot of you guys remember Oki, who used to be here. And he said to me the one time, this guitar teacher wasn't a Christian. He said, "Yes, it actually bugs me. This guy's like too happy. He's just happy all the time." And I thought, why is that bugging him? You know, this Oki is choosing to be happy, and that's who he is. Like, that's his personality. Yet this guy is actually seeing it as a negative thing. But I think it's a spiritually mature thing to choose joy over in every season, you know. And so that's the second point I have there: to seek joy in the ordinary and difficult, whether things are going bad or whether things are going good, and knowing that God's on our side. And then the third point I have there, it says, joy is the expectation of what God can do and desires to do in our life. Now, I really like that point. And if we go back to Psalm, if you read Psalm 3 as well, in Psalm 3 and 4, David's crying out for joy. And apparently this is one of his most difficult seasons. So in the midst of his most difficult season, he's crying out for joy. And he puts his faith in God, you know. So, and I think it's so important to realize that joy is the expectation of what God can do and desires to do. If we realize that God wants the best for us, and He desires the best for us. So much easier to stay positive and be joyful, you know. Okay, so that's the first point, joy in the ordinary. Let's go on to number 2 there. So, number 2 is joy is not based on circumstances. And we can read. I'm just going to read from the screen. I hope you guys don't mind. Psalm 27, 5-7, it says, "For He will conceal me there when troubles come. He will hide me in His sanctuary. He will place me out of reach on a high rock. Then I will hold my head high above my enemies who surround me. At His sanctuary I will offer sacrifices with shouts of joy, singing and praising the Lord with music. Hear me as I pray, O Lord. Be merciful and answer me." And then just the next verse as well. 1 Thessalonians 5:18 says, "Be thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you who belong to Christ Jesus." What a great verse. So basically, we can actually go on to, I've written down some points again. And the things going on around us determines our happiness and not our joy. I think that's a key point to try to remember. And I only really realized this when I read through Purpose Driven Life a couple of years ago. And I really realized, wow, joy is actually from the Lord, and happiness is from the things around us and in the world, you know. And it's a really key point to remember. We see that David, in his trouble, again in Psalms, this time 27, David in his trouble, he doesn't fear his enemies. He offers up shouts of joy. Maybe we can just go back to Psalm 27 quick. And if we read there, verse 6, thanks. It says, "Then I will hold my head high above my enemies." So David's really surrounded by his enemies. He says, "My enemies who surround me. At His sanctuary I will offer up sacrifices with shouts of joy, singing and praising the Lord with music." So he's surrounded by his enemies, yet David chooses to offer up shouts of joy, singing and praising the Lord with music. That's why worship is so great, don't you guys think? It's a time where we can choose, no matter our circumstance, to offer up shouts of joy and praise to God. And that's really the power that worship brings, and we get an awesome opportunity every Sunday to do that. Let's learn from what David's doing here. And so if we can just go back to those points. Number 2 says, prayer and communication with God, or how did I write it? Prayer and communication with God is when joy endures. And I think this was David's secret in Psalm 27, because we can see that that's basically what David's doing. He's talking to God, he's praying to God, he's offering up shouts of joy. And that's really what I feel his secret is, when joy is really lasting. So that's just another point I wanted to take out there. And then the last point is joy is based on our ability to be thankful. And when I was doing this reading plan and I read that, I thought, wow, such a simple little line, but wow, how true, eh? Our ability to be thankful it's just a key point to actually being joyful. And I've got a couple of friends who are looking for work next year. I've got about, including my brother Tim, there's like four friends who are looking for work. And I think it's a tough time for guys who have just come out of varsity, and they're looking for jobs, and it's like middle of December, and they're wondering, what am I doing next year, you know? And I've seen in a couple of their lives, they often get a bit discouraged, and they think, Lord, like, I've studied 4 years, I've grasped it hard, come through for me, you know? And often they start believing lies like, maybe this wasn't the right course, or maybe this and that. And we just got to turn away from that and be thankful for what God has done and what He does do in our life and where we are going, and a time to be excited, because We don't know where we are. Often we want to know the future, we want to know where we're going. But if we can choose to be thankful and in every opportunity, that'll override the times where we're a bit confused, you know. So yeah, joy is not based on our circumstances. Let's go over to point 3 here. Joy in suffering. And again, I've got some verses there. And it says here in James, I recently read through James, and what an awesome book. It says, Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. I'm sure a lot of you guys know this passage well. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. And great, just quality verses there. And then the next one from John 10. John 10:10 says, the thief's purpose is to steal and kill and destroy. My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. And like I was saying, often we believe the lies from the devil, but God has come to give a rich and satisfying life, you know. So yes, if we can just touch on some points again that I've written there. Joy in suffering will become more natural as we put it into practice. So I think it's almost a discipline. I really feel it's like a spiritual discipline to actually choose joy, and it's not a natural thing. We're born into a world of sin, and we often want to feel sorry for ourselves, and when bad times come, we're like, okay, well, that'll decide my mood. But the more we choose it, the more natural it becomes, especially in the difficult times. Obviously, that's when it really is testing our character, you know. That can really change the way we live our lives when joy and suffering becomes a natural thing. The second point I've written is remain joyful in the dark seasons by anchoring your soul and focus on God. So, if we getting a bit caught up in our lives and we not making time to seek God in the Word or with other people or prayer and communication with God, then that anchor's a bit lost, you know. Remaining joyful in the dark season by anchoring ourselves. The third point I have there is lifting up thanksgiving, as we've read in Thessalonians. Pain may be present in the night, but joy comes in the morning. Do you guys believe that? What an awesome lyric from a song that we sing. And just a story on that. If you guys didn't know, I love golden retrievers. They're basically my top 5 dog. And I had 3 golden retrievers growing up. The first one was Dusty, thoroughbred, beautiful dog. Would go down to the beach by himself, and he was great. And then the second one we had was Spud. He lay under the potatoes, and that's how he got his name, in the corner in our kitchen. And then the third one was Chili, and he was an awesome dog, but unfortunately we didn't have him for long, and he passed away in a bit of like a little accident. And it wasn't that fun. And I remember seeing my dog Chili, and he probably would have still been alive. It was a good couple of years ago already. And sometimes I think when things like that happen, I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate, but a pet basically becomes part of your family. Especially golden retrievers, they just love you. And so I remember when Chili passed away, and it didn't hit me at first. And then I still remember Alec. Alec came to my house. He was picking up a guitar or something like he does. And I just started bawling. I just started crying in front of him. I was like, Alec, bro, my dog, it's gone. It was a sad time. And I think it was on a Friday. And that Friday, I was leading worship at youth. And I thought, yes, I'm feeling down now. And I needed to play in front of guys and act happy. And I just remember we sang, I think it was Desert Song, and it talks also about pain in the night and joy coming in the morning. And I just remember, like, yeah, Lord, like, I know my dog's gone and I feel a bit rubbish, but He has young people in front of me and we're worshiping and praising Your name. What an awesome time, you know. And so, yeah, often pain can really affect us, but joy does come in the morning, and thank God for that. And then the last point here is embrace that God is wanting to do a new and great work in you. Remind yourself of the growth and maturity that will take place. So I love a verse, I think it's in Philippians, where it says, God is working in us, giving us the power and the desire to do what pleases Him. What a great verse. Yes, we don't have to do much then, we just have to choose. So if God's working in us, giving us the power and the desire to do what pleases Him, it seems actually quite simple. Just embracing that God actually wants to do a work in our life and use us to reach other people. How exciting. That's point 3 on joy and suffering. And we just got one more point. So you guys can stick with me, and if you can go to the next slide, please. Thanks. And the last point is then, joy is good for the heart. So we've got 2 verses again from Proverbs and Psalms. And the first one says here, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit saps a person's strength. I'm sure you guys can relate to that, I read that the other day and I thought, wow, how true. Like when you're feeling good inside and things are going well, it feels like you're indestructible, yeah? But when something's really affected you, you just feel weak and not really that blissful for life. Let's check out the next verse quick. Psalm 16:11. You will show me the way of life, granting me the joy of Your presence and the pleasures of living with You forever. So if we can go to our points there quick, it says, there's one place you'll always find joy, and that's in God's presence. And so, what are you doing to get into God's presence? That's a question that I have coming from that. What are we actually doing in our lives to get into God's presence? And I would encourage you guys, if you're struggling to make time to get into the Word, or if your life's getting really busy and you're struggling to pray, really just sit down and actually make that decision that this is what I want. And in the back of my mind, I haven't been doing it, but now's the time, Things are maybe slowing down. Maybe for some of you guys, work's actually getting a bit busier. I know some people don't have much of a break over Christmas. But, it's really a good time to choose to be in God's presence. And if you're not part of a cell group or a small group, I'd also really encourage you to do that. The second point I've got here is, joy is good for you, not only you, but the people around you as well. I really love that point, because basically joy is contagious. And so just a little story I have on that is, I don't know if any of you guys, I'm sure some of you know that my maid's name is Millie, and she is just incredible. She is basically my African mom, and she loves me and Tim to bits. Like, I really, really just have so much time for her. Basically she's been with us since we were 2, and she just loves everyone. Like, she loves me and Tim, but she loves everyone as well. And I really just seen, even recently, like we've got a big student house, so there's often people coming and going, and people always say, like, wow, like Millie's always just so happy, Mill's always like joyful, and it really is contagious. And if you're in a bad mood and you're in the kitchen and Mill's working and having a good time, all of a sudden you're in a good mood, because Millie is just awesome. And so if you guys are struggling, come over to my place and have a cup of coffee with Millie. and she'll sort you out. So, but basically, like, joy is good for you and the people around you. I really believe that. So yeah, let's learn from Millie. And then the last point I have there quick is, joy has the incredible power to carry you through the toughest season and minister to others as they see your response. And so, yeah, basically, once again, when we were talking about spiritual maturity, and I think if a non-Christian or a Christian, if you maybe just say you're at work and you're choosing joy, often people don't know what's going on in your life. But I think if you just had to paint a picture that someone's really struggling and you're choosing joy, and this person sees, wow, this person's always happy, like my old guitar teacher. He's, wow, this person's always happy. But they don't know your situation, and then they find out your situation afterwards, and they see, oh, your dog died, but yet you were still so happy that night, or this is going on in your life, like someone in your family has cancer, but yet you're really still choosing joy, you know. Joy has the incredible power to carry you through the toughest season. So for you, and to minister to others as they see your response. So joy is really just a response to how things are going in our life, and I really encourage you guys to choose joy, not only in the easy times, but in the tough times. So just to run over those points again, choosing joy in the ordinary. Joy isn't based on our circumstances. Joy in suffering. So when we're really struggling, and then joy is good for our heart. Yeah, let's just pray quick as we close. Dear God, thank you that you bring life, and you bring hope, and you bring joy. Thank you that that overrides what the devil brings, and he comes to lie and cheat and steal, and I just thank you that you bring life, God. Thank you for Summerstrand United. Thank you for this church, God. Thank you for the work you're doing, and in your people, God. Thank you that you give us the power and the desire to do what pleases you. Thank you for that promise, Lord. I really just pray that we won't get caught up in what other people have or what other people are doing, but we'll really just choose joy in the ordinary, Lord. Thank you that joy is bigger than happiness. Thank you that we're on this life and we'll always have tough times and suffering, Lord. But yet we can choose to really just choose to live in you and for you, God, and that will build our character and our faith and our endurance. And thank you just for that contagious joy that's in us, and it overflows into other people. I really just pray that we would be people that don't even have to say much, but by choosing joy, that people would come to know you through us, Lord. Thank you just for this time that we have, and just be with us, Lord.